Awesome. Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. I'm so glad this worked. I'm a little intimidated by the number of beeps I'm hearing as you all come in. So please be kind to me and to each other. So today we're going to talk about setting them up for success, how we develop our student organizations. Before I start, I'd like to acknowledge that I am at the University of Texas at Austin. And I like to start every time I do a workshop, every time I do a presentation, I like to share and acknowledge that this institution and where I'm settled is on Indigenous land. I would like to acknowledge and pay the respects to the Carrizo and Comoriquiro, Caddo, Tonkawa, Comanche, Lipan Apache, Alabama Coshada, Kickapoo, Tigua Pueblo, and all the American Indian Indigenous peoples and communities who have been or have become part of the land here in Texas and here on Turtle Island. I know we're remote, but I do encourage you to look and learn more about where you and your institutions are settled, whether you're in the United States or anywhere else. All right, so what are we gonna do today? I'm gonna get a PowerPoint up is what I'm gonna do. Give me 1 second. All right, it says it's gonna work. That should work. Okay. Hopefully, can you all see the PowerPoint? Perfect. Awesome. So these are some pillars from our university. If you look at the background and the pillars there, So how do we hold things up? Help people develop. That's kind of the theme I was going for here. All right. And now it's being silly on my end. Okay, there we go. So again, I want to acknowledge the land. People think of Texas as dry, but here's a picture of Austin, and you'll see a dog in the picture. That is my dog. So I like to give people an idea of where I'm coming from here. All right, so a little bit about me so you get to know who I am. I'm a coordinator of student activities here at the University of Texas at Austin. I'm also something called a Terry Scholars Campus Coordinator. That is a full ride scholarship that is provided through a private foundation, and I coordinate with those 200 students. I received my master's, both my master's degrees from Indiana University of Bloomington and my bachelor's from University of Wisconsin at Madison. So slowly migrating south. My current role is that I manage student organization development portfolio. Yay, that's why I'm here. I would like to learn from all of you. I manage the travel approval process for our student orgs. I advise that full ride scholarship, like I mentioned, and I coordinate all the assessment operations for our office. So I'm not at all busy, so please feel free to reach out at any point. Okay. So I'd like to have you introduce yourself, but since there are so many of you on the chat, what I thought I might just do is have everyone update their name, their pronouns, and their school, if you haven't done that already. And Adam, I know you'd already asked them to share some of that in the chat, so hopefully you're all comfortable doing that. I'll give you a second. I want to scroll that chat too and see who's here from where. What are we seeing so far, Adam?
There are people from every corner of this country, except I haven't seen Hawaii and I haven't seen Alaska. Continental states, I've seen a lot of different states.
I had a line for Alaska and Hawaii, I kid you not, on my cards. I was super excited to see someone from, so quickly call someone from Hawaii or Alaska and tell them to log in, y'all. I was gonna say it's almost Friday, except for our friends in Hawaii and Alaska who still have half a Thursday left. So, and I guess West Coast a little bit. So, oh, Alex is here, my graduate assistant. So, she might chime in and correct me from time to time. All right, so let's learn a little bit about the University of Texas at Austin. Oops, did we lose the screen? Are you still seeing the screen?
We still see it.
Oh, okay. Ooh, all right. So the University of Texas at Austin, enrollment is around 51,000, give or take. It's a pandemic. We're not really sure on the exact number, but it's somewhere in that ballpark. We have 18 schools and colleges, 170 plus fields of study, and we have over 1,100 student organizations. So it fluctuates. At certain times of the year, as we're going through annual registration process, we might drop below like 600 or 800, but our average sits around 11 to 1,200. So it's large. And now I'm going to take you guys on a little tour of our space. And let me double check to make sure you guys can hear audio. Alex, you will recognize this video. All right, it should.
Yep, we're good.
Can hear it?
Welcome to Student Activities, located at 2609 University Avenue, right in between Kinsolving and the Student Services Building next to Dean Keaton. At Student Activities, we pride ourselves on providing services to students as soon as they step foot on the 40 acres. The Transfer Experience Center is a great place to meet other college students who have made UT their new home. It's also a great place to have casual meetings or hang out between classes. This is the Student Organization Center, the first point of contact for student orgs. Starting an organization is easy. The staff here can walk you through the entire application process. Student organizations can use the
Did it stop?
Yes, it did.
Oh no. Oh no.
offices for meetings.
There, try
or
that.
many resources and art supplies located in the nearby Art Center for their banners and event planning needs. The Student Organization Center also provides locker rentals inside of the Art Center for all of your storage purposes. Student organizations can reserve rooms for their larger gatherings through our online reservation system. For more information, visit our website at deanofstudents.utexas.edu/SA. We look forward to helping you make the most out of your student org.
All right, so that was just a little introduction to our space. Since we're virtual, I wanted to share that with you. That's the services that we offer. Oops, sorry. Here with our student activities. So what do we have here? We have 5 full-time staff. We may actually have 6 now, I think. 3 graduate assistants and 40 plus student employees. We have something called registered student organizations and sponsored student orgs, which I know a lot of you may already have that kind of distinction. Our registered student orgs are those that we just recognize they exist, but they aren't officially tied to our university, but we can still help them if they have questions about planning events. Sponsored student orgs, however, are considered officially part of the university, and they are tied to an academic or administrative unit on campus. So for our programs that we have here, just reading off the screen, in case there's some of y'all calling in. So we have Student Org Recognition Awards, which I'm super excited, Adam, for the next talk, because that's also something that I work in. Facilities and reservations, event consultations, advisor workshops, public health ambassadors, which is a new program because of COVID. We have peer educators, about 30 of them. They walk around campus and they help go to events oops, someone's on, and help to encourage their peers to be safe and socially distanced, wear their masks, use hand sanitizer, et cetera, et cetera. So that's our public health ambassador program. We have our Student Organization Center, which y'all just saw the lovely video. And then of course we have Student Org Development, which is what we're here to talk about. One thing that I have learned is that we are very non-traditional here. A lot of y'all probably do some sort of actual programming for your student groups. We do not do that. So not to say that we don't assist them, we certainly do, but we don't take the lead on programming. That's up to our student orgs to do. So that might be a little different, but I hope we can still have a good discussion. All right. And the mission statement for our unit here in Student Activities is to educate, support, and advocate for all students in order to facilitate their growth, development, and sense of belonging through involvement in student organizations and leadership. We have goals. These are kind of our last cycles, goals, but I really wanted to highlight them because I think they still ring true and they all actually relate to this. So develop students, outreach and build relationships, and improve administrative processes. I almost took that last one off, but then I thought, you know what, it's a COVID year, and I think we all have a lot to talk about in terms of what do those processes look like and how we're helping our student orgs be successful. So I left it on there, but obviously developing students and outreaching and building relationships is what really comes to mind. All right, so today's content. I do not like death by PowerPoint. So after I did 7 slides of PowerPoint, when I originally had pitched this discussion to Adam when he was setting up the Student Organization Summit, I was thinking, oh, I'll have like 30 people and we'll do like little breakout rooms and we'll have some discussions. When the technology on my end was not cooperating and I couldn't do that event, I heard from a lot of you saying that you wished you could come. So I offered to Adam that I would be happy to do a one-off one day, which came sooner than I had thought, but that's cool. Get it out of the way early in the semester. Thank you, Adam. And so I can't quite do a discussion. If I unmute all of you, it'll be chaos. So we're going to do something different. But first of all, what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about how do we define success? What does that mean for you? And what does that mean for your student organizations? Developing student organizations, kind of just a catch-all. What does that mean to develop an org? What kind of processes might be involved with that? And then how do we know when we are successful, helping them be successful? This is something recently that my team has been struggling with, that I've been struggling with, especially with the pandemic, is how do we know we're actually doing something of benefit and value for these student orgs? All right, so defining success. What we're gonna do is, and please play along. If you're on your phone and you can't get into this, I apologize, but we are gonna go to Slido. If anyone has used Slido before. And so you're going to type in, just go to slido.com and then type in 76878. And this is where I was having a little problem with my my computer earlier, so just give me 1 second. Okay, so yeah, we've got some answers coming in. That's awesome. So I'm going to move this over on top of our PowerPoint so you all can see as we're moving along what you all are saying. I think I'm moving it over. It's not moving.
You might have to stop sharing the PowerPoint.
Oh, I thought I could just slide it over to the slide.
And the code, again, is 76878.
Mm-hmm. I have 3 screens. You think I would be all set, y'all, with 3 screens that I could make this happen?
Is there a place for us to type in?
There will be. There'll be lots of these. Yes. Yeah, there will be lots of opportunity to put your answers in. Guarantee that. So you can all see the Slido now on your screens?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. So I'm gonna call, we have 60, well, we're fluctuating. Okay, we've got a nice, beautiful bell curve, you all. That's, this is statistically sound. Thank you. So roughly half of you are kind of right in the middle. You think that your orgs have been, moderately successful, we'll say. Everyone's value of 3 is different, but, this is why we have the bell curve. Okay, so now I have some other questions for you. How do you feel about your ability as staff here today to support student organization success? Don't be ashamed if you're a 1 or a 2. Be kind to yourself, truly.
Fucking shit, bro. Eva 1, Shinji Kari.
All right, so a little bit more skewed this way. This is awesome. A lot of you are feeling very empowered and capable of helping your student orgs, which is that's amazing to hear. I also don't want to discount those of you, though, that said there's a 3.4. That's a little bit, more skewed towards positive, but don't want to discount the 21% of you, 20% of you who are saying, I really don't have this. And then of course the people who are right down the middle. So again, even though this kind of skews with 45% of you saying, pretty good, there's a lot to work on, I think, that we can do. All right. Now this is a little longer, so but you have your phones or whatever you're doing, you'll have to scroll to see it. I just gave a couple options, more than a couple, to pick of what does a successful student organization look like at your institution? I can't even predict with this. It's just moving all over the place, y'all.
I think you made it tough for us, Virginia, if we can only pick one.
No, you should be able to pick more than one. Does it not let you pick more than one?
No.
Oh, no. It's supposed to let you pick multiples, y'all. All right, well, that was a failed experiment, but go ahead and answer it. I'll see if I can edit it on the back end while you're doing this. All right. Well, I do like that the sense of belonging is up there at the top. And I think that's part of the reason all of us got involved in this line of work is that we either in our past as students have been affected by either an org welcoming us in and helping us find our place, or sometimes the opposite, and then we want to fix that. So I think sense of belonging is really important. And I have a feeling if this had worked right and allowed you to all pick multiples, we probably would have seen a lot higher on the sense of belonging. So I apologize, that is on me. Okay. Let's go to the next one. So what are some limitations or struggles your student organizations have faced in the last year? And this is type it in, share it. It's one word, it's a sentence, whatever you want. After we're done today, I'm going to go through and kind of compile our notes a little bit and share that back out with everyone. So don't worry if you miss it as it comes in. Zoom fatigue, for sure. Membership retention, disconnection, apathy, impossible COVID policy, you don't say. Finances, uncertainty. Yeah, no induction, definitely running into that. Members don't feel like they're fully part of a group. Okay. Online event fatigue. So a lot of your limitations are related to the pandemic. Okay. Creativity, engaging members, pre-planning events. Yeah. That's something we hammer on here too. Yeah, awesome. Disconnection from first years, definitely. I mean, there could be a whole thing about how do we engage first years and bring them to our orgs, right? That's a whole nother area of concern. Membership, attendance, student interest, access, creative and service ideas. Okay. Limited marketing and outreach opportunities. Yeah. Funding restrictions. lack of support from college leadership and supporting organizations. I have a feeling that one's coming from a pre and current pandemic situation, but I am sorry if that is the case. All right. Okay, only a couple more, and then we're going to summarize what we're talking about, and we're going to move on to the next one. All right, attendance. So what are different ways to define or describe success for student organizations at your institution? I'm thinking like 1 or 2 words, and just to grab one from earlier, belonging, engagement, yeah. So engagement's a great one. Just 1 or 2 words that come to mind. And you can enter this, I promise it should work. You can enter multiple times. Community, awesome. So we're going to build a word cloud. Meaningful engagement, awesome. I hope this can qualify as meaningful engagement. I'm not sure. I'm doing my best, y'all. Awesome. Well, community and leadership development, those are coming out nice and strong. Belonging, engagement. Oh, look at all these. And then some of the other ones, diversity, student enthusiasm, active participation, meaning making, financial transactions, socialization, all wonderful. Give you guys a couple more seconds to enter this one in. Doing something, yeah, exactly. You can form a student organization and then just sit around. That's probably not very successful. Awesome, growth. Yeah, awesome. Great, you all, thank you. Again, I will share all of this out with everybody afterwards. I will compile all of this into
professional development, not really.
Okay. Now here's a tough one. What are different words to describe success for staff at your institution? How do you know that you're being successful? Communication, adaptable, empathetic, growth. Oh, growth came up in the last one too. Student feedback, definitely. Engagement. I think, Adam, we're gonna have to take a pet break somewhere in the middle of this talk, and everyone can show off their cats and dogs and gerbils and whatever you have, guinea pigs.
We can
iguanas.
absolutely do that.
Yeah, I think that'll be a good like intermission. Awesome, supportive, student impact. Students come back. That is a good one. Yes, indeed. Good morale, program quantity. Oh, interesting. Self-care, student response, empathy, which is part of empathetic, inspire, not do. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I think that's kind of where we are too in our work. Like I said, we don't do the traditional programming, so we have to assist orgs to do that programming. So, all right. Being a meaningful resource, meaningful connections. Yeah, awesome. Very cool. All right. Okay, I'm sorry, this keeps going, but this is how I'm gonna make it interactive for you all because I'm hoping that you all can see where I'm going with this in a second. What are some limitations or challenges you have faced as a staff member in the last year? Fatigue, oh yeah, I think we could all put our hands up on that one. We could just have fatigue right there in the middle, gigantic. Layoffs for sure, reaching students on campus, finances, unmotivated, bad attitudes, burnout, It's like you're reading my mind, y'all. Roadblocks, pandemic. I think we're going to move on this one pretty quick because it's going to get pretty depressing. Give you about 10 more seconds on this one. So one thing you'll notice is some of these, there's some overlap. What your students are facing as challenges and what you are facing as challenges. I want to share that because I want to remind yourselves to be kind to yourself and realize what success means in a pandemic or with a new org, if you're in a new position, whatever's changed in your life, success might get redefined. So if your finances are tight because your budget's getting cut, you know, success under a new budget might be different than success under your old budget, and that's okay. Okay, one last time. How successful have your student organizations been this last year? Looks familiar, I know. Ooh, you guys are throwing me for a loop. I thought the score would go higher, but it's going lower, which is interesting. Okay, so we're averaging about 2.9. So kind of cutting away from that, going back to my death by PowerPoint. Sorry. What I want to kind of go over a little bit, and what we've learned here in our office with student org development, and just pre-pandemic, but also certainly with the pandemic. We don't want to ignore the elephant in the room. But, oops. Sorry, this is not quite working right. There we go. Okay. Success will look different for all of our institutions and all of our student organizations. So while one org will say, you know, diversity is what defines success, and maybe that's one of your goals for your office, is to help your student orgs become more diverse. For other institutions or other orgs, that may not either be at the forefront of their goals, or it might be something they feel they're already making strides towards, so it's maybe not at the top of the list anymore. So be mindful when you read an article, when you see a book, when you see something in the Chronicle of Higher Ed that talks about the word success. Don't measure your success against somebody else's success. Try to keep it in and say, what are we doing for our orgs? How do we know if our orgs are being successful? How do I know if I'm being successful? Am I getting positive feedback from the students? Am I getting positive feedback from my colleagues? Do I feel okay? Because you can't be successful if you don't feel okay. So success is also not is not a destination. It is a journey. I know that's cliche, but it's very true. One thing that we are learning is we have our recognition and awards program here that Alex, my graduate assistant, who's on this call, she works very heavily with. And what we see is that different orgs will kind of come and go through that process. So one year they might get best org at the entire university, and the next year they barely apply for any recognition, and then 3 years later they come in as most improved org. And so that success can change based on the leadership of the org, but it could also change on the conditions. We've had some orgs that have really actually thrived under COVID and have just stepped forward. And we have other orgs that have actually seen a significant decline, but maybe they found success in other ways. I was meeting with an org this morning, for example. They're having a problem with recruitment of new members, but the pandemic is allowing them to connect more with alumni from their org. So that has been a success for them, while it also creating a challenge, but they've been wanting to connect with alumni for several years. And now suddenly, because of the pandemic, they can. So that's one way to look at it. And then our students and our staff may have different ways to define and determine success. So that's not just like what it will look like for an org after, after you feel you've completed something. Was that a successful event? Was that a successful recruitment drive? But what does the actual mean by saying is it successful, right? Is it, was it success saying, okay, well, this org got 2 new members, but this org got 20 new members in that recruitment drive? Is one more successful than the other? As the saying goes, it's all relative. So, okay, now we're gonna go to development of student organizations, but here I'm gonna pause before we go into development and just check and see if anyone has questions or feedback about how do we define success and what does that mean for our orgs? Ooh, someone's got golden retrievers. I need to see that, Jimmy Cox Purdue. That better be up on your screen any second now.
I think that is it is a difficult question because it's really easy to hold our maybe national organizations to not a higher standard in a sense, but I think they have an easier time recruiting sometimes, maybe in a traditional setting than some of our smaller organizations do. So that can be hard. It's a difficult question, but
yeah, no, I appreciate that. It's true. Some orgs are doing better. Point that what staff considers success and what students consider success might be different. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really is. And we find that almost on a daily basis. If you get evaluations from students, you might sometimes be surprised what they say. And you're like, well, they just didn't understand what I was trying to tell them. But really, they hear things different. They understand things different. They do things different. And it's not an us or them. It really is just they're coming from a different place in terms of what their expectations are in education versus what we offer. Entertainment orgs have suffered the most since they haven't been able to hold events to raise operating funds. Big time. We're seeing a lot of that here too. We have a couple orgs that have gotten very creative with like the dance orgs with having like dance offs and things like that online. One org that one of our student team members is on has actually had a really good recruiting season, but that's kind of few and far between. But they can't do competitions. So is that really successful? They're like, yay, we recruited a lot. That's a success, but we can't compete with any of these new recruits.
Yeah, I was going to say our competitive sport teams, I think, are really struggling, that they can't practice. There's no incentive to really work things. And so they're kind of just waiting, right, until we can start meeting in person again. So I feel like this year will be really difficult for them to overcome in terms of recruitment.
Yeah, definitely. And it is. And so we don't want to focus on what we can't do, right? I saw what happened. Okay, this is how I'm going to turn this. When I asked the question the first time, how successful have your student organizations been? You guys are pretty positive. But then after I put it, I didn't mean to, but I put it after the question of what are the challenge and limitations your staff and yourself are feeling? And then I asked that question again, how successful your student orgs have been. You dropped almost a whole point. And so I think it's really important that we have to recognize the negative is happening. This pandemic, whether it's a budget cut, whether it's a pandemic, whether it's a fire, whatever might happen that kind of disrupts everyday activities for you and your orgs. Sometimes that means we have to redefine what success is. So you were on a steady trajectory of we're going to recruit more members. The pandemic hits. Well, maybe we need to focus on officer transition for a little bit. We're going to find a new win somewhere. So don't be afraid of doing that for yourselves and when you're working with orgs. Again, all with the grain of salt because it's just what we're learning on our end. I invite you to share what you're learning as well. All right, where's that golden retriever or the two golden retrievers? I'm not seeing them yet.
There they are.
No. Oh, there they are, you all. Look at those goldens. They're on page 2 for me. Oh my goodness, look at that tail wagging. Okay, I needed that. I don't know who else needed that in their life, but I needed that. So thank you. All right. Okay, so now we are going to talk about development of student organizations. So we're going to go to that same Slido account, which I'm not sure why I just did what I did. Okay. So what are some ways that you engage with your student organizations? And again, this can be a sentence, a word, whatever you want. This is open. Weekly email, Zoom, open workshops, social media, quarterly advising. Oh, I like that. Virtual training. Email, Zoom, monthly officer meetings, exec team meetings, training, talking to them in the office, right? How many of us just miss their students just walking through the door randomly? Those encounters, that is those serendipitous encounters walking around campus, or when they come to see us, or they actually come to see somebody else, they run into us. Yeah, we're all feeling that here too. We miss that. Regular emails, check-in meetings, social hours. Ooh, I like the social hours. Strengths-based trainings. Yeah, we have our Leadership and Ethics Institute here at University of Texas that does, I think, some strengths-based training. Tongue twister. Oh, all right. I was gonna say, is that somebody from LEI? They might be here. Snail mail. Oh, I like that. So whoever puts snail mail, are you like sending like a formatted letter, or are you sending them a card, or what does that look like? Calling you out, I'm sorry if you don't want to share. I like it too because, you know, we're in a big city, obviously in Austin, Texas, but we have a lot of our students who are in rural communities. Texas is a very large state. As I know, a lot of you are from more rural campuses, or you have students who are rurally located. And this digital takes on a whole nother level of fatigue when you're dial up and not high speed, or your high speed is just not very reliable, and or your technology is just not very reliable. So yeah, that can definitely be a drain on students being involved. All right, so you have some good ways that you're engaging with your students. A lot of email, a lot of the virtual donuts with the dean, like it. Now I want donuts, thank you for that. And some sort of training or workshops. All right, good deal. What is a skill that what is a skill your student leaders and student organizations build outside the classroom while working with your office? So this is focusing on what's our goal? We're co-curricular activities, right? You know, what are students learning in the class that they can apply in these student orgs to build those skill sets for the next chapter of their lives? All right, event planning, communication, financial management. Yeah, that is something we hope they build. Networking. All right, conflict resolution. Sadly, yes. In-person relationships, running a small business. Ooh, I like that. Yeah, that is a very transferable skill. Budgeting and logistics, management skills. Yep. I would go as far as to say we have some students who make excellent project managers and have no idea that's a career that they could pursue. But maybe they would discover it through student orgs. Awesome. You guys are doing some good work with your students. Look at all this. Give yourselves a pat on the back. I mean, even if you're not doing all of this, we're only doing a couple of these, but just recognize your peers are also doing it. So there must be something good about what you're doing, right? So if you've got a professionalism workshop, or if you do consultations on professionalism, or maybe you have some sort of dinner, like an etiquette dinner that you co-sponsor with some orgs, public speaking, just giving them advice and encouragement to, it's okay, you know, you've got this meeting, you can run this meeting. That's important. Wellness ambassadors. Oh, you have wellness ambassadors too. I think that's a typo, but I'm going to include it in the final notes anyway, is the Y6QL, because that might be code for something. So I might just not be in the know. Or it's the golden retrievers telling me how much they absolutely love being the center of attention. Awesome. Okay, now here's a harder one. Actually, this is easier. Here's an easier question. What is a skill you wish student leaders and student organizations would learn by working with your office? We all have some of those. Kindness. Oh, I like that. Email etiquette. Yeah, it's not a text message, you guys. It's an email. Patience. Reading emails, timelines. Following instructions. Conflict management coming up again. Some are better at learning these skills than others. We're not risk management. Hands up if that's you in COVID-19. Read whole email message, paying attention. I think these overlap quite well. Servant leadership. Read my email in all caps. Alex, I think we're going to have to clean this up. I just recruited you to help me with this because we have so much overlap in some of the questions.
I'm perfectly fine with that.
So I might not turn it around today. It might take me the weekend to clean this up, y'all, because you have feelings about email, and they are deep and they are real. Awesome. Thank you all for humoring me on that. I think this is the last one in here. In what areas of development do you think your student organizations need the most guidance and assistance? So this would be kind of akin to what you wish they would learn, but what are some areas that they could benefit from? Leadership, recruitment, confrontation skills, event planning, building real in-person relationships. What's that? Conflict management, listening, time management, self-motivation, storytelling. Oh, their impact for donors. There we go. It's a little brainstorming going on here. I love it. Self-authorship, team building. So where I'm going with this question is I want to share with all of you what we're doing here at UT, a little bit of what our development portfolio looks like, and say thank you for all of your great ideas, because I'm going to steal them and make new development things happen in our office. But no, seriously, this is really good, because things like the donor, the connection with donors and alumni, that is something that, you know, isn't really on our radar right now, but should be. Motivation, asking for help. Oh, huge, huge. Ask for help, please. We're here for you. Read our email, and if it still doesn't make sense, ask for help. But don't ask for help before you read the email, please. All right. I think that was the last one in this section. Let me double check. Oh, I can skip this one. I was going to say if you host workshops, there are some topics you cover, but a lot of you didn't check workshops earlier, so I think I'm going to skip it.
Yeah, and this is you have 9 minutes
Okay.
left, so.
Yeah, so let's skip that one. All right, I'm going to stop that and stop share. Again, you have so many screens, it still doesn't work. Okay, so when we're talking about developing student organizations, there's a lot of ways we can reach our student orgs, and I think you all shared a lot of great ideas. Email, of course, but social media, workshops, all those things. There's a bigger discussion we can have about how to learn from each other these best practices. That's why I said I will be sending you all the list of everything you've contributed today so we can continue to learn from each other. And organization development is not linear. Just like success is not linear, the development process for these orgs is not linear. Their leadership turns over, they encounter new challenges, and you may have to backtrack with them. You might have to say, I thought we had financial management down. How did you mess it up again, right? This is a real issue, and realizing that they are still learning. And I think it takes a little bit of our patience to get them through that process. But be also, again, I always say, be kind to yourself. We're all fatigued. We're all exhausted. We're all like just kind of fed up with one thing or another. So if you do have an org who just doesn't, like, they seem to be on the right track and then they backslide, just realize they're not doing it intentionally. This is a natural cycle for growth. Okay, so I will share this out later then, since we're up on the clock, but here what we do is we have some workshops, and I'll share these slides out with you if you'd like, but you know, I was hoping you could tell me what I'm missing, which is a lot. But what we're trying to do, we have workshops, so we're trying to set up more self-paced things so students don't have to have all the Zoom fatigue. They can do it at their own pace. They could print it out, maybe watch a video instead of watching me on the screen. Yeah. Okay, so this last one is, how are we doing really? In the interest of time, I'm not going to post the questions. I'd probably just send them out to you all as a survey later, Adam, if that's okay. But I just wanted to, this is what I put in as my notes for here. Don't be afraid to ask students directly how we're doing. Don't assume. Their body language and what they actually feel may actually be different. And especially now in a pandemic where we don't get that body language, we're not sure if they're really feeling supported or if they really understood what we told them. Again, it's part of that patience model of, you think they got it, they think they got it, and then they backslide a bit, and you have to repeat what it is. That's normal, that's natural. But don't be afraid to ask them if they feel like what you're telling them is helpful and what you're doing for them is helpful. And don't be offended if they say no. It doesn't mean you're doing a bad job. It just means that maybe you need to work on some sort of communication with them and maybe invite them into the conversation of, okay, so you didn't like that. Would you be willing to come to my workshop next week and co-present with me and kind of fill in these things and talk about what are some other options that orgs have? So don't be afraid of that. There are so many ways to determine if you're successful in helping them be successful. There's assessment, surveys. There are getting thank you notes. Hopefully some of you get thank you notes from time to time or a thank you email. I hope so. If you don't, let me know. I'll send you a thank you postcard. Thank you for coming to my talk. You know, there's so many ways that you can find out if you're being successful. It could just be they turned something around that wasn't working for their org. But in the spirit of how are we doing, really, make sure you're taking care of yourself too. And asking that question of how we're doing is not just asking, are our student orgs successful? How are our student orgs doing? But how are we as the staff, as the graduate assistants, as those who are assisting the student orgs, how are we doing? Our help is only as good as we are and as good as we feel. So give yourself breaks. Don't be afraid to use that vacation that's just been rolling up in the bank because no one can go anywhere. Hello, California. You guys just got out of your lockdown. So how many weeks of vacation did you guys compile? Don't be afraid. Take a long weekend, even if you can't go anywhere. Take a mental health day. Don't fall behind on your doctor's appointments or your dentist appointments because of the pandemic. Get your hair done. Go play with your kids. Go play with those beautiful golden retrievers. Take a day off to go hiking. Something like that. Just remember, when you're asking yourself, how are we doing in terms of student success? It's not just about the student orgs, it's also about you. Okay, so that's all I really have for all of you. I will just say quickly, thank you. This is Jerry, my half golden, half Chesapeake Bay retrievers. I love golden retrievers. I know we're right up on it, Adam, but if anyone has questions or wants to unmute and say anything, please go ahead.
Virginia, we can't see Jerry.
You can't see Jerry?
Yeah, your screen sharing didn't quite work.
Oh no. Okay, I'm sorry, y'all. No one told me. Okay, try that. There's Jerry.
That works.
Now can you see
There
him?
we go.
Okay,
Yep.
now you can see Jerry. There was all of this stuff up before too. Like I had, how are we doing really? But
You did a great job talking through it. We didn't even need the slides.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
I try not to use slides. I don't like PowerPoint that much. So
Yeah, so if people need to go, that's totally understandable. If you have questions for either Virginia or for, you can stick around and ask. But we've got 2 workshops in February. Come back out, and yeah, we'll see you soon.
yeah. And I can hang out for a little bit, Adam, if anyone has questions or wants to chat with each other or with me.
Thank you for your presentation, Virginia.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for coming.